week before. The house was still full of birthday warmth. Paper ribbons covered the carpet, candles had only just gone cold, and rain tapped softly against the window. Mira lifted the last present into her lap, smiling at the strange little toy inside. It looked handmade, too detailed to be cute, too cheerful to be harmless. Its grin was wide, its eyes glossy, as if they had been polished by fingers that knew exactly where to touch. Elena laughed from the doorway, tired but gentle. "It's unique," she had said earlier, and for a moment, in the amber glow of the fairy lights, it almost was. Then Mira turned the doll toward the mirror across the room. Its reflection seemed just a little slower.
Mom, why does it look like it's smiling at me like that?
Because it's one of those odd little collector toys, sweetheart. Strange is part of the charm.
Mira placed the toy beside her pillow, and the room felt smaller. At 2:13 a.m., Mira opened her eyes for no reason she could explain. The room had changed. Not in shape, not in color, in attention. It felt as though something inside it was awake, watching, waiting. She pulled the blanket down just enough to see the chair by the window. Labubu was no longer beside her pillow. It sat upright in the rocking chair, moonlight pouring over its fuzzy brown fur and pointed ears. Its round, glassy eyes reflected white, unblinking dots. Its sharp-toothed grin was wider now, or maybe the dark only made it seem that way. Mira did not move. The chair did not rock. The toy did not blink. But she knew, with the instant certainty children have when fear arrives before logic, that it was looking at her. Then the chair creaked once, though nothing touched it.
Mom?
The toy remained still, but the room answered for it.
I put you on the bed. I know I did.
By morning, Elena blamed a nightmare. She checked under the bed, behind the curtains, even smiled when she found Labubu downstairs in the kitchen. But her smile did not stay. The toy had been placed on the counter facing the hallway, tiny clawed hands resting on the edge, as if it had been waiting for someone to come down the stairs. No one in the house remembered bringing it there. Mira refused to touch it. She stood in the kitchen doorway, clutching her blanket so tightly her knuckles turned pale. Elena finally picked the toy up herself and flinched. It was warm. Not sun warm, not heater warm, skin warm. Outside, the rain had stopped. Inside, silence gathered around the toy like it belonged to it.
It's probably just from being near the vent.
Don't say that. It was in my room. It was staring at me.
Toys don't move on their own, Mira.
Elena said it like a promise, and not because she believed it. That evening, Mira heard whispering from the hallway. Not words, not yet, just the shape of a voice, thin, papery, almost playful. She stepped out of bed and followed it to the corridor, where the family photos hung in a neat line toward the stairs. The lamp flickered. Labubu stood at the far end of the hall, standing. It was no longer slumped like a toy. Its small body held itself upright with impossible balance, one tiny clawed hand lifted toward the wall of framed photographs. Mira took one step closer and saw what had changed. In every family picture, where her own smile had once been, the reflection on the glass now showed that same sharp-toothed grin. Elena rushed in just as the nearest frame slid off the wall and shattered at Mira's feet. And through the crackling silence, the whisper finally became words. "She sees me."
Mom, Don't let it touch me! Please, don't let it touch me!
Get behind me, now.
Mira!
Elena had never heard a toy speak before. Elena tried to throw the toy away. She locked it in the outdoor trash bin with both hands shaking, then checked twice, then 3 times. At 11:47 p.m., the television turned on by itself. Static filled the living room. The storm had returned, tapping the windows harder now, like knuckles. Mira crouched behind the sofa, while Elena reached for the remote. But the static changed before she touched it. The screen showed Mira's bedroom, live, empty. Then the camera angle slowly shifted toward the hallway, as if someone were carrying the view, as if someone small were walking. Labubu sat on top of the television, head tilted so far to one side it should have torn the stitching. Its glassy eyes glimmered every time lightning flashed. On the screen, a childlike silhouette approached Mira's room. In the living room, the toy whispered at the exact same moment the silhouette reached the bed.
I only look at children who look back.
The lamp exploded. Darkness rushed in.
Stay down, Mira. Don't answer it. Don't even look at it.
Why is it here? It was a present. It was just a present.
Gifts are invitations.
And someone, somewhere, had accepted, long before the wrapping paper was torn. The house led them back to Myra's room. Doors slammed shut behind them one by one until there was nowhere left to run. Pre-dawn light seeped through the torn curtains, colorless and sick. Elena stumbled at the doorway, her arm bruised, breath broken. Myra climbed onto the bed and pressed herself into the corner, until she saw what waited on the pillow. Labubu. Exactly where she had first placed it. Calm, patient, smiling. Its round, glassy eyes did not reflect the room anymore. They reflected Myra standing older, thinner, hollow-eyed in the same bedroom years from now, still being watched. The whisper came from everywhere at once, from under the bed, from inside the walls, from the doll's stitched grin.
I don't come to life. I begin when I'm loved.
Myra, shaking, did the only thing a child would think to do. She covered the toy with her blanket and squeezed her eyes shut. Nothing happened for 1 second. Then the room screamed. Not the toy, the room. Photos blackened. The mirror split. Wind burst inward, though the window remained closed. Elena crawled forward and pulled Myra into her arms as the blanket on the bed slowly sank flat, as if whatever had been beneath it had become impossibly thin, or slipped somewhere else entirely. When morning finally arrived, the house was silent. The toy was gone. Only one thing remained on Myra's pillow. 2 small indentations in the fabric, like tiny hands had been resting there all night. And that evening, after they left the house for good, Elena checked the backseat mirror during the drive. Myra was asleep, but behind her, in the rear window reflection, 2 round glassy eyes and a sharp-toothed grin waited in the dark.
I don't want it anymore. Please make it stop.
I've got you. I've got you. Don't look behind you.
I know where children dream.
Some gifts are not meant to be opened. Some only need to be welcomed in. They did not go back home. By sunrise, Elena had packed only what mattered: clothes, documents, Mira's school bag, the old blanket, and the things she refused to name aloud. She drove without music, without speaking, following empty roads until the city disappeared behind cold fields and low fog. At the edge of a forgotten village, they found a chapel no one seemed to visit anymore. Its windows were boarded, its paint peeled in strips, and the small cemetery behind it had long since sunk into the earth. Elena carried the box with both hands. Mira watched from the car, knees to her chest, eyes hollow from a night without sleep. Inside the box, beneath the blanket, nothing moved. That frightened Elena more than if it had.
You stay here, sweetheart. Don't come out unless I tell you.
What if it comes back in the car?
Then it'll have to go through me first.
Mira believed her, because children must believe someone, even when the dark has already entered the world. The chapel smelled of soaked wood, mildew, and something older buried beneath both. Elena forced open a section of cracked stone near the altar where the ground had already begun to give way. Her hands bled against the edge as she widened the hollow. Then she opened the box. Labubu lay exactly as before, small, grinning, harmless in shape, impossible in presence. Its fuzzy brown fur was damp with the air, its round, glassy eyes aimed up at her as though it had been waiting politely. Elena did not touch its face this time. She kept her gaze on its chest, wrapped it tight in the blanket, and lowered it into the dark space below the broken floor. The whisper did not come from the toy now. It came from under the chapel itself.
She will miss me.
Elena slammed the stone back into place. For the first time since Mira's birthday, the silence that followed felt real.
You are not hers. You are not coming with us.
Gifts return.
Stay buried.
Some prayers are spoken to heaven. Others are thrown downward. They stayed that night in a roadside motel with faded wallpaper and a broken ice machine outside. It was not home, but it was ordinary, and after everything that had happened, ordinary felt sacred. Mira checked every corner of the room before sitting down. Under the beds, in the closet, behind the curtain. Elena let her look. She looked too. Nothing stared back. No whisper moved through the vents. No tiny hands pressed into the mattress. No reflection smiled where it should not. They ate crackers from a vending machine and drank weak tea from paper cups. Mira finally leaned against her mother's side, her breathing slow and uneven, and sleep found her there before she realized it had come. Elena did not sleep. She watched the window until dawn, but dawn arrived clean.
Do you think it's still under the church?
Yes, and that's where it stays.
Promise?
I promise.
Weeks passed, then months. They moved to a small apartment in another town, high enough above the street that rain sounded soft instead of threatening. Elena found work at a bookstore. Mira started at a new school where no one knew why she sometimes froze at the sight of certain toys in shop windows. The nights changed first. They became normal in small pieces. Sleep without checking the chair. Dreams without whispers. Silence that belonged only to silence. Mira began to draw again. Trees, houses, her mother's face, the sun. She never drew sharp teeth. Elena noticed that and said nothing. By winter, the story had become something they almost called over. Not forgotten, never that, but folded away like a bandage finally removed from healed skin. And in the chapel, far from the city, no one visited. The floor remained undisturbed. Dust gathered. Seasons turned. Nothing was seen. Nothing was heard.
Mom, I slept all night.
I know. I checked on you twice anyway.
I know.
Healing did not arrive loudly. It came like daylight under a door. Years later, people passing that road barely noticed the chapel. It had become one more ruin among many. Boarded windows, broken cross, wild grass climbing the steps. Children did not play there. Adults did not stop there. The village around it thinned, then faded, and eventually even maps seemed to care less about that place. Inside, the pews continued to rot. Rain marked the walls in long, dark lines. Dust thickened over every surface. And beneath the cracked stone near the altar, whatever had once been left there was never seen again. No stories spread. No disappearances followed. No one found small footprints in the dust. No one heard whispering under the floorboards. For a very long time, the world simply forgot. Which, perhaps, was the closest thing to peace that house of teeth and eyes would ever allow. The chapel stood silent under fading light, keeping its secret so completely that even memory began to loosen its grip. And somewhere far away, grown older and finally unafraid, Mira would sometimes wake from a deep, dreamless sleep and realize with quiet relief that no one had watched her for years. Some evils end in fire, some in prayer, and some are defeated only by being left unseen. For a long, long time, no one saw Labubu again.